Okay, this is the driver safety meeting for September 10th, 2016. The original meeting, we had a technical problem with the strength of the signal at the hotel. So this is a re-recording. We kept dropping the signal, therefore there was no recorded actual meeting, so I'm recreating this so that you can hear everything that was covered in that meeting. A vision without a task is but a dream. A task without a vision is drudgery. A vision with a task is the hope of the world. So what's the vision for TU? Simple. It's the basic ABCs of transportation of goods. You pick up on time, you deliver on time, claim and accident free. Now, because this is a driver safety meeting, I'm going to spend more time on claim and accident free. Not that picking up on time and delivering on time is not important, but obviously from a claim and accident standpoint, this is what I want to emphasize. So when you start out with a vision, it goes to a mission, has a goal, you have a strategy to get there, and then you have an action plan. So what's the vision? Claim-free delivery of cargo. Accident-free delivery of cargo. More importantly, from your standpoint, injury-free for the driver and all parties involved. The mission. Even though TransUnited is a very safe organization, we have to become a safer motor carrier on the public highways so that the delivery of cargo can occur without an accident or cargo claim, and that we accomplish this without any injury to any and all parties involved. So what's the goal? To reduce the number of accidents, both injury accidents and property damage. Reduce the number of cargo claims, overhead hits, hitting fixed objects, etc., damage from securement, weather, and everything else. Reduce the number of work comp and occupational accident claims with the drivers. Now, in 2016, so far we've had, this is the range of accidents that we've encountered. You can see the vast majority of these are hit by vehicle 2. But hitting fixed objects and, for us, overhead are equal. And since we haul oversized, overdimensional freight, when we are dealing with overhead strikes, we are not dealing with taking off the top of a van or a reefer. We're damaging the cargo because that is what we haul that is oversized. Now, we also have the rear end vehicle 2 and the others that you see up here. The claims, we've had cargo claims, we have tractor damage, trailer damage, and work comp claims, all in 2016. So, tractor trailer drivers, they account for 1 out of 6 workers killed in the job. They're 3 times more likely to experience a non-fatal injury or illness than any other worker. So what's the strategy? The strategy is to reduce the CSA scores in all basic areas. Now you're talking CSA. Why is this? Well, CSA is a direct reflection of what takes place out on the road. So it's the interaction with the public. In order to do this, we have to eliminate hours of service violation, reduce the equipment violations. In the process, the strategy is to increase customer satisfaction with the cargo condition, i.e. no write-ups, no cargo damage, customer satisfied. Reduce the injury risk for all people involved, you as drivers, the public who are interacting with you out on the highways. CSA basics. All the CSA basics deal with things that take place basically out on the road. Unsafe driving, it's your actual actions out on the highways. Hours of service, actions out on the highways. Driver fitness, it's compliance. So when they should do something about, they haven't yet. Will they in the future? Yeah, they keep saying so, but they haven't done it. Controlled substance, alcohol. That is controlled completely by you, the driver. So we've had one event since they started this, and it will continue to follow us through the 24-month time frame. Equipment, it's the actions on the road. Hazmat, we don't have to worry about hazmat. We do not haul hazmat. That has to be placarded. So if it exceeds 1,001 pounds, if it has to be placarded because it's an inhalation hazard or hazardous substance, we don't haul it. Crash indicator, this is where it gets a little squirrely because whether it's our fault or their fault, they're counted against both of us, the company and the driver. They say it's fair because that is just the way it is. We count them all, we count them against everybody, therefore it's a fair system. Yeah. Unsafe driving. You can see that unsafe driving has gone down, came back up, started down again. We will have 2 accidents coming off in September, but we also have 1 accident that just came on. So we dropped 2, we put on 1. What will happen to the ultimate score next time the scores come out next month? Probably it'll go up again. Unsafe driving, the action plan. This is what it takes to get this accomplished. The action plan here is be a defensive driver at all times. You are bigger and better because you're a professional driver than all those four-wheelers that are out there. But you have to give way to their aggression. You don't have to like it, but you need to give way to their aggression. You stay below the speed limit, no matter what it is posted. You keep a proper following distance. Give yourself time and distance to react to their stupid mistakes. Obey all the posted signage unless you're directed to do otherwise by police officer. Hours of service, this is where it's at. The hours of service is going down. Why? Because we are moving everyone into electronic logs. It's going to continue to track down, hopefully, and we can get this down to where we don't have to worry about it. So what's the action plan? Have all trucks under electronic logs by the end of the year. That's company trucks already on it, and over half the owner-operators are on it. You still have a number of owner-operators that are waiting to see whether the September 13th argument of OOIDA is going to carry any weight. Well, we aren't being pushed by the regulations. We're being pushed by the customers. The customer requires us to respond in a minute or so as to where their truck is, where my freight is now. Not in an hour, not in 2 hours, now. And if you can't do that, they don't want to work with you. Operate all equipment within the hours of service regulations and eliminate all hours of service violations. So that's the action plan for hours of service. Driver fitness, you'll notice that we dropped down to 0. That's because we dropped below 5 events in a 24-month period. So what's it going to take to keep it there? Keep your address current on your driver's license. If you're out on the road, make sure somebody opens up your official mail from your state of record. Notify the company of any citations, letters concerning civil or criminal litigation, or anything else you may get in the mail. We will, as a company, continue to monitor the CDL in the states that we can do so to see if we can pick up any change in your status. But there are 12 states that are not part of this program. So we have limited ability to do this. Maintenance. You'll notice that maintenance is starting to come down. That is exceptionally good. That is a process that we have to continue. How do we do that? Well, this is the 107-step program for the pre-trip inspection. Every day you have to do a pre-trip inspection of your vehicle, tractor and trailer. So, complete daily pre-trip, find, fix those things that you as a driver find during the pre-trip of the equipment. We will continue at this point to have 90-day equipment inspections. Brakes, lights, and tires, BLT. They're the easiest things for you to see. They're the easiest things for the inspectors to see. So check those and fix them. The idea of a tail light not working, oh, it's just one diode. It doesn't make any difference. The whole light has to work. Crash indicator. Crash indicator has gone down. It's gone back up. It may go again. It may go up again because of the one addition that came on in this last month. So the action plan, driving safely, legal to superloads. Drive like your family is next to you, in front of you, and behind you. Drive defensively. Always give yourself time to react, which is only by giving yourself space between you and the next vehicle. Plan for the worst case scenario and be relieved when it doesn't happen. Accident prevention can be as simple as go. Get out and look before backing. Having your mirrors adjusted correctly, maintaining contact with escorts if you are using them to move a load, not trusting on-site riggers for obstacle clearance, and not being distracted while driving. Adjust your mirrors so you can see all the blind spots, then check all the mirrors before changing lanes. Now, you might want to change speed to flush out anybody that's riding along in a blind spot. Always signal your intentions and run with your lights on when moving. It may not help you see, but it'll help you be seen. And yes, as a big truck, you can disappear into the background. Visibility is just that, and the lights on gives you visibility. So if you're moving, have your lights on for safety. Cargo claims, the action plan. Measure the dimensions of the load and weigh every load. All loads properly secured. Extra securement. If you have something hanging up in the headache rack, it doesn't do any good. Put it on if you can, because just because the regulations say you're safe enough, are you? Always put on extra securement. Protect the cargo from damage from the securement devices. Tarp every load unless instructed not to tarp. Protect the cargo from weather damage. Protect the cargo by selecting a safe parking spot. Permit review before driving with either yourself or with the escorts. Do your daily coordination with the escorts. If you have a situation, do not just go ahead and then say, it's oh darn. Stop and evaluate it and make a change. Make sure you know the height of your load. Use a height stick. It's better than using a tape. You measure from the ground to the highest point of the load before loading. Measure at multiple points on the load to ensure you have the highest point. Know your trailer height and how much blocking will be used. Before you release the riggers, measure again to make sure that you know how high the entire trailer and load is going to be, and adjust the blocking as necessary. The time you spend measuring will keep you from a costly cargo and or liability claim. Superload checklist. A superload checklist, if you're moving a superload, has to be accomplished on a daily basis and sent in before you start your trip every day. Pictures of the load to show how it's loaded, tarped if necessary, the securement of the load before starting your trip. Securement is paramount. One slight problem with securement to lead to a greater issue in 1/100th of a second. Permitted routes. Read the permit, look at the map prior to leaving, not while driving. Plan your trip, plan your stops, work your plan. Daily review of the permit and the route. The night before with your escorts, the day of with your escorts. Driver is always in charge. The escort is there to help you, but they're not calling the shots. If you have a problem with an escort, call the office. It is time to let them know about it so they can do something rather than 2 or 3 days after it's done and then saying, well, you know, we really had a problem with that escort. Injury reduction. How you reduce injuries? Don't have accidents. But by definition, accidents are an unplanned event. So any one of you, if we hand you a schedule and said at 2 o'clock this afternoon, you're going to have an accident because it's on the schedule, you'd say, well, probably going to call in sick today. So protect yourself by driving defensively. Also protect yourself with PPE. It can make the difference between a minor mishap and a career-ending injury. So, hard hat, gloves, work boots, vests. Everything on this list needs to be in your possession and you have to wear it. Hard hat, safety glasses, gloves, steel-toed work boots, hearing protection, whether that's earplugs or muffs, long sleeve shirts and long pants, and reflective safety vest. Well, nobody else on the job site's wearing it. You're the professional. They're a bunch of yokels. The other truck drivers that are there aren't wearing it. You're the professional. They're the yokels. Top occupation for injury, we're right up there. You have police officers and sheriffs, firefighters, highway maintenance workers, correctional officers, nursing assistants, and then truck drivers. And what's the major thing here? Slips, trips, and falls. So reduce the slips, trips, and falls. Use 3-point of contact when climbing up or down from the equipment or the cargo. Use proper lifting techniques to protect your limbs and back. Complete stretching your muscle before directly going into heavy lifting. Use caution when tarping and take breaks as needed in cold weather or hot weather. So, 3 points of contact when entering and exiting the vehicle. Most drivers injure themselves doing something they've done 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 times, and it only takes once. So, do we expect perfection? Perfection has a population of 0. We want progress. We'd like to have perfection, but we have to have progress to meeting these goals, these tasks, so that we can continue on the path of reducing injuries, reducing accidents, and reducing cargo claims. Now, Operation Air Brake is from September 11th through the 17th. It is, as the name implies, the brake condition, brake adjustment, brake components. Also, all equipment that was manufactured has a manufactured date requiring ABS must have everything working properly. Warning lights, not continually on, etc. It is also Driver Appreciation Week and Operation Air Brake. And within the week, on the 13th, a OOIDA lawsuit hearing. It's a 3-judge panel. 7th District Court of Appeal will hear this oral arguments. And the basis of the argument for the OOIDA is the violation of the 4th Amendment challenge against their legal search and seizure. OOIDA and the FMCSA each have 20 minutes to make their case. Any questions from the panel may extend the time period. So, essentially everything is in a brief beforehand. The judges have already read it. You have 20 minutes to make your case. The other side had 20 minutes to rebut it, and that's it. When will they make the determination? It could be within 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. We don't know. Operation Safe Driver week is October 16th through the 22nd. There will be heightened traffic enforcement, and it's all going to deal with unsafe driving behaviors, both for commercial motor vehicle drivers and passenger car. Reduced number of accidents due to unsafe driver behaviors. What will those be? Speeding, failure to use seatbelt, distracted driving, failure to obey traffic control devices, traveling too close, improper lane change, etc. The FAST Act. This was passed on December 4th, 2015, signed into law. This is the first multi-year funding bill for rebuilding the infrastructure, transportation system since 2005. All the CSA percentile scores and alerts were removed from public view at the time the law was signed by the President. Until the review process is completed by the Government Accountability Office and the DOT Inspector General, CSA scores will not be public. Review is 18 months, corrective plan within 120 days after that, another 120 days, corrective action plan. DOTIG will review and report the recommendations to a House committee. Official time schedule then is 26 months or February 4th, 2018. However, the FMCSA has a very consistent track record of being late for any type of imposed deadline. The absolute measures used to indicate the basic scores were first put out in the March release of the 2016 CSA scores. Basically, it says it will show these things and remain open to the public. So the scores and the alert status are not public, but the absolute measures used to formulate those are public. 5-year roadside inspections and the motor carrier out of service inspection rates are still available, along with the carrier operating status, the insurance status, and the carrier safety rate. Coercion. The final rule for this was released on 11/30/2015, prohibits everybody from coercing drivers to violate certain provisions of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, including hours of service, CDL, drug and alcohol, and hazmat. Final rule became effective January 29th of this year. Paperless logs. Mandate was published on 12/17/15 and becomes effective 12/10/2017. Currently, Pedigree, our current electronic onboard recording device, meets the requirements for the ELD for 2017. By the end of this year, all the software changes will be fully ELD compliant. So there will be some presentation changes because the ELD mandate has a standardized presentation that will be the same across every platform. So there's about 26, 28 different platforms out there for onboard electronic recording devices. So these will all be in the same pattern. All Class 7 and 8 trucks that are now exempted from drive-away commercial motor vehicles older than year 2000. Paper logs, time cards, 100-mile radius, at the discretion of the carrier. Local drivers that work for us do paper logs. Driver doesn't drive such that no more than 8 days in a 30-day frequency and commercial motor vehicle older than 2000. Supporting documents must be sent by the carrier. It had gone down to 8 days. It's been changed to 13. Supporting documents include all trip records, expense receipts, electronic payroll, settlement sheets. The ELD will, while you're driving on duty, will have your location within 1 mile at every change of duty status, engine on and off, and every 60 minutes while moving. If you're on personal conveyance, it's only good within 10 miles, engine on and off, and every 60 minutes when moving. You will, with the ELD, have the function of having an inspector come up and either through a wireless web, email, or Bluetooth will be able to download the last 7 days. They will not have to see your device. They will not have to crawl up in your truck. You will not have to hand them anything. Highway grade crossing. Obviously, from our May 14th, 2015 accident, we were very concerned about taking superloads across railroad crossings. Review the permit to look for specific instructions for railroad crossings. This is to be done on your daily briefing. Prior to crossing the railroad, evaluate the stop, evaluate the grade, evaluate the local challenges, and if there's a turn immediately after, evaluate if you can pull straight through, then back up to make the turn once the tracks are cleared. Call the railroad. Phone numbers are posted at the railroad crossing. Determine the time window open in case of problems encountered during the next actual crossing. This was something that took place in the Johnston, South Carolina accident. There was a terminology down at the bottom of the permit, and basically it didn't put it in so many words, but it said you must call and see what the window is. This happened at 8:37 in the morning. From the time he pulled it over the tracks, got stuck, got out, called, to the time of impact was 3 minutes and 1 second. The next scheduled train on those tracks was 2,300 hours that night. Override the air pressure setting. All the tractor and trailer airbags provide the maximum height clearance for clearing the railroad crossing. You have a 2-speed, put the rear ends in low, engage the power divider on the tractor before crossing railroad tracks. You do not shift the gears when actually going over the railroad cross. You power through the crossing. If you encounter every type, the first thing you do is call the railroad numbers posted at the crossing, inform them, especially if you're hung up in the tracks. Then you call us. These are the typical places where the numbers are posted. Glider kits. For all those people that were thinking they were going to get a glider kit and save themselves the hassle, there is a greenhouse gas and fuel economy regulation called the CHG Phase 2. It was released in August 2016 and has an effect on glider kits for over-the-road tractors. Those glider kits produced in 2017 and beyond will be restricted to the average number of glider kits produced in the last 3 years. Why? Because they're going to restrict those, and eventually it's going to be that you will not be able to have a glider kit unless the engine has less than 100,000 miles on it or is less than 3 years old. They are going to severely restrict the amount of older tractors that are going to go in with engines, because right now the projected 5% of the over-the-road tractors will have glider kits, but they'll produce 35% of the particulate matter in their exhaust. Ohio, effective 9/6, has 1 mile permit access rule. Permittee is allowed to exit permitted route, state highway intersection for food, fuel, rest, or repair, and here they're very specific. 1 mile, 5,280 feet from the interchange. You cannot cross under a structure if the permit height greater than 13.6, or over a structure if 10 feet wide or greater. Re-entry to the permitted route will have the same restrictions as exit. Permittee should be able to see the facility from the interchange. If you travel 1 mile, 5,280 feet, so expect there to be a little white line painted across the highway, or cross over or under any structure described before, violating any provision, permittee is considered off route and subject to fines and penalties. Expected dates. The Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse, where all drug screens taken at all locations, done by all collections, processed by all laboratories. That release is projected to be at September 26th. Since this date has been moved 4 or 5 times, we'll wait and see on that. Hair testing for drug use, no proposed publication date. The insulin-dependent drivers and driving interstate. Medical Review Board recommendations were published on 9/9/2016. Insulin-dependent commercial motor vehicles. They can be medically disqualified unless they can do the following. Provide the FMCSA with a diabetes assessment form from their treating clinician. Driver must complete optometry exam every 2 years to document the presence or absence of retinopathy, macular edema, or any degree of thereof. The Medical Review Board recommends the physical is no longer than 1 year. As the driver is not experienced, 8 disqualifying factors. Severe hypoglycemia in the last 6 months, blood sugar less than 60 milligrams per deciliter in your log, hypoglycemia appearing without warning, episode of severe hypoglycemia within 6 months, you're then medically disqualified for 6 months. Uncontrolled diabetes with an A1C of greater than 10. Stage 3 or 4 diabetic retinopathy, the driver is then permanently disqualified. Target organ damaged, you'll be disqualified unless treated if possible. Inadequate record of self-monitoring of blood glucose. Driver will be disqualified until the glucose records established, but at least for 1 month. You're saying, well, anything can be pencil whipped. Well, that A1C is the one that will show the last 90 days. And so you can write down anything you want, but if the A1C is too high, they're going to say you're lying. Medical Review Board states that if the driver is medically disqualified due to not meeting the previous criteria, driver will remain disqualified for at least 6 months. What driver or company can afford that type of disqualification? Speed limiter rule. The proposed regulation was published on 9/7/2016. The only problem was they listed 3 possible miles per hour, 60, 65, and 68. Now this is the first time 60 has ever been in the criteria. It was always 62, 65, 68. The feds aren't making a recommendation. They're going to wait for comments from the public and the industry. For the governed speed for class 7 and 8 trucks, the comment period ends November 7th, 2016. 60 miles an hour would save 162 lives to 498 lives. Kind of a big span there. 179 to 551 serious injuries. 3,356 to 10,306 minor injuries. The net benefit, and these are in millions of dollars, so these are the big numbers, 1.1 billion to 4.9 billion dollars. This is net effect. This is the advantage, the costs, and the difference. 65 would save 63 to 214 lives, 70 to 236 serious injuries, 1,299 to 400,335 minor injuries prevented. Net benefit would be 1.03 billion to 2.75 billion. 68, 27 to 96 lives per year saved, 30 to 106 serious injuries prevented, 560 to 1,987 minor injuries. Net benefit 475 million to 1.2 billion dollars. Now, politicians always talk about $1 million here, $1 million there, and pretty soon you're talking about some pretty big money. This is strictly from a dollar value. Which one do you think they're going to be pointed at? Non-compliance. Drivers will have a civil fine if they're not compliant with this of $2,750. Companies, $11,000. Comments will be asked for from 1999 forward in the cost of retrofitting if there's no ECU available. So you have 26,000 pound or greater vehicles involved in interstate commerce. Speed limiter must be functionally maintained through the life of the vehicle by the carrier. There will be a 3-year lead time for manufacturers to comply with when enacted, and the speed would be set at the factory. Any existing vehicles that have speed limiting capability would be required to comply with the selected maximum speed. Devices must be able to display the current and 2 previous speed settings with the data change. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is considering requiring the retrofit compliance of all existing Class 7 and 8 trucks with speed limiting devices. But it's primarily being looked at right now for new ones or those with electronic engines. TWIC card. You have your TWIC, you originally set up a PIN number. If you can't remember what that PIN number is, you can bring it to any office that deals with TWIC, that issues TWIC, and they have a device there. It looks like an ATM machine. You can go in without an appointment and reset your PIN number. Department of Navy, Department of Energy. What do they have in common? Naval bases, whether it's Navy and Marine Corps, and nuclear facilities require proof of U.S. citizenship. If you have a passport, U.S. passport or passport card, or TWIC and a CDL with an original copy of your birth certificate, or active retired military ID. That's how you have to prove U.S. citizenship. National Registry of Medical Examiners, currently within 25 miles, there are 211 within 25 miles of Burns Harbor. You can check the registry to check to make sure that whoever you're selecting is on the National Registry, because any physical that you are doing has to be done by somebody on the medical registry. You can search out and pick by city, state, or zip code. CDL and medical certification are now being merged together. You always keep a copy of your long form DOT physical and card with you. Each state requires you to submit a current and new DOT physicals to their offices for every time you get a physical. When it's fully implemented next year, new physical will be sent by the medical examiner to your state. Always make sure that you follow up with a document issued to you by the medical examiner and make sure you put it on file with your state of record. You always have to keep the address on your driver's license current. Even though in this day and age you would think it otherwise, the state will only communicate with you with U.S. Post Office. And anything from the state coming to you will have up in the corner, even if you had a forwarding address, do not forward. All right, Mr. Snuffleupagus and sleep apnea. Obstructive sleep apnea. It's a combined effort between FMCSA and the Federal Railroad Administration to evaluate and screen safety-sensitive operators for obstructive sleep apnea. It was published in 3/10/16, comment period end 6/8/16. Why is obstructive sleep apnea important? Moderate to severe can cause a person to experience unintended sleep episodes, lack of attention, lack of concentration, lack of situational awareness, loss of memory, the loss of the ability to safely respond to hazards. All those seem to be kind of important when you're driving down the road at 60 miles an hour. Risk factors: obesity, male gender, advancing age, family history, large neck size, if you're over 17 inches, anatomically small throat. What's the increased risk from this? Hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, dysrhythmia, which is irregular heartbeat, myocardial infarction, heart attack, stroke, and sudden cardiac death. All those seem to be rather something you want to pay attention to. Now, if you have a body mass index of 40 or above, it's an automatic diagnosis of obstructive sleep apnea. With a body mass index of 33 and above, with any one of the symptoms comes a diagnosis of obstructive sleep apnea. So, DOT physical would require screening and treatment to keep the CDL. Initially, you'd be issued a 90-day DOT physical so that you can get the testing done, and after the screening, diagnosis would result in a 1-year physical so the ME can check for continued compliance. This is the chart. If you can find your height, and if you can find your weight, if you're on anything above your lean body mass, so 5'10", the average person, male, is 5'10". If you're above about 165, you're overweight. 205, 210, you're obese. And if you get up to 275, you're morbidly obese. So, when was this put together? This scale itself is 2009. When did they start bringing the information together? Well, from what I've heard, it's from 1949 to 1954. But this is what is being used. You can go do some non-drastic things if you say, well, you know, it's not that I'm heavy, I'm just not tall enough. So there are things you could possibly do. So what's the symptoms? Loud snoring. If you ever went on a fishing trip and everybody says, oh, you have to be asleep before you know who goes to bed, because otherwise you're not going to sleep. Breathing sensation while sleeping, witnessed by another person. Abrupt awakenings accompanied by shortness of breath, awakening with dry mouth or sore throat, morning headache. Difficulty staying asleep, insomnia, excessive daytime sleepiness, attention problems, or irritability. The 30-minute break. The SCRA requested a waiver for permitted route loads, oversized and overdimensional loads, because there was concern with stopping oversized loads at places where the public would be in danger. You have to have a copy of this letter authorizing the 30-minute break exemption when under a permit load. Why? Because most of the states have cut back on their funding, and they do not, the inspectors don't know about it until they see your letter. If you're empty or under a legal load, then you must still comply with the 30-minute break requirement. The exemption has been extended by FMCSA because all exemptions went from a 2-year to a 5-year exemption cycle. Make sure you have a copy of the new letter extending this exemption for the 30-minute break. Indiana treats any permit violations as a reason to issue a civil fine of $1,000. This will be done with or without a citation issued to the driver. It will take anywhere from 5 to 12 months, but there will be a civil fine issued by the Indiana Department of Revenue. So if you have a violation within the state of Indiana, you can expect a civil fine to be assessed, and we will hold you responsible for that. WCS, there is a provision sheet that has to go with every permit. You can look these up, and with the software for the smartphone, either an Android or iPhone, you can check and actually print the provision sheets, make sure you're current. So you can just check it by the state and go from there. Load securement, extra chains, extra binders. Just because the regulations say have enough, do you really? A chain or strap in the headache rack does you no good. You can put on extra securement on the load, do it. An extra few minutes will save you hours of explaining. As of 9/9, we've gone 162 days without a driver out of service inspection, 147 days without a load securement out of service inspection, 107 days without equipment out of service inspection, 13 days since the DOT reportable accident. CSA, bill basically says, unless the motor carrier is unsatisfactory, you can use them. High-risk carrier, proposed regulation on March 7th. It would exceed at or above 90th percentile for 2 consecutive months. Had no on-site within the previous 18. Definition would prioritize high-risk list. Comment period ended 5/6, and it was part of the review team with the FAA. They've not issued any proposed release date for high risk, but it's been addressed in multiple bills in the Congress. And basically it means there's going to be a congressional fight on this, funding fight. And so part of the thing of the FAST Act was to determine the accuracy of the safety measures to identify high-risk carriers. So daily pre-trip inspections, the task. You cannot count on the DOT inspections to find all the problems, even when we're completing them in a 90-day interval. You as the driver have to look over and inspect your equipment on a daily basis. Find and fix problems be further found under roadside inspection. Maintenance score needs to stay below threshold and continue to go down. And you as the driver is the only person that can do this. Unsafe driving, where current score is 27, threshold is 65. These are the things that are causing it. The points are within the parentheses, and the number of events in the white. So failing to use seat belts, 4, control, failure to belt, traffic control device, 3, lane restriction, 6. Six to 10 over, 3, 11 to 14 over, 2, hazard warning, 1. Hours of service scores at 48, threshold 65. 14-hour violation, driving beyond the 8-hour limit, 5. Form and manner, 8. No driver record or duty status, 1. These are all in the last 24 months, realize. Driver's record, not current, failing to retain last 7 days, 4. False reported record duty status, 11-hour violation, 11-hour rule violation. We're currently at 0 in driver fitness, and these are the 3 items that we had in the last 24 months. Controlled substance alcohol, we had 1 event. And now it will be scored. Possession and use under the influence 4 hours prior, and possession of intoxicating beverage while on duty or driving. Vehicle maintenance, 73. The major, you'll notice the trend here. Tire, 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 tire. Axle positioning, light, 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 light. Power steering violation. Brake, 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 brake. Light. Fire extinguisher, oil and grease. So brake, lights, and tires are the majority of the problems. Load securement, cargo shifting, damaged tie downs, damaged dunnage bar, insufficient working load limit, loose, minimum tie down, insufficient tie downs, improper machinery securement. Anything that's on the tractor or trailer that's loose or potentially comes off or could potentially come off, whether it's tarps, pliers, mud, stones, branches, is an insecure load. Hazmat, we won't have any because we don't haul it. Crash indicator, 15. We have right now, as of 9/10, 7 crashes in the last 24 months, 1 injury, 6 towaway. 2 of these will be coming off the end of September. 1 additional will be coming on. Preventable, non-preventable, yeah, they're supposed to talk about it. Yeah, they're supposed to do something about it. Even the FAST Act is supposed to say they're supposed to determine this. But whether they do or not is another matter. Safety fitness determination. This is something that will probably be on hold until the DOT IG clears. So the continue to operate, identify for intervention, or unfit are the 3 possibilities under the safety fitness, but it probably won't take place, and there are no comments So it would only reflect about 2,400 carriers as being unfit under this. So it will probably never happen. So we're currently under satisfactory, conditional, and unsatisfactory. Yet 86% of all carriers are unrated. So with 435,000, that's almost just over 374,000 have no rating whatsoever. We still give you incentives for passing roadside inspections. Level 1, 20,000 points. Level 2, 10. Level 3, 5. And this is with, it must state on there, no violations found. All roadside inspection paperwork must be scanned, sent, or mailed in to the TU office as soon as possible. Most states require us to sign, date it, and return a copy to them within 15 days. And we also have to have a copy in our. As of 9/9/2016, we have 67 inspections year to date. 30 of those are clean. 9 of them are out of service. 2 driver, 5 equipment, and 2 load. Roadside inspections, we've had a great increase in number of clean inspections. You can see this reflected in the last 3 months as the number of out of services have gone down to 0. Trip sheets, bill of lading, information needed while still on paper. Everything has to put down so that we know that if you're turning in a piece of paper, we know what load and what driver and what truck it goes to. Accident report. Stop, set your brakes, put on your four-ways, call the police, set out your triangles, then document, document, document. Take as many pictures and then call. Always call me. DOT reportable accidents, fatality, any injury that has to be treated away from the scene, and any vehicle that has to be towed from the scene because of damage. ISSD, 75 to 100, stop every truck. 50 to 74, if you got time, stop and inspect. 1 to 49, green light, don't bother. Where are we at? We're at 42. That's where we want to be. We want to be in the green. Overhead, traffic lights, bridge overpasses, lines, and trees. Location, highway is the biggest part. Intersections, off-ramps, truck stops, shippers, and consignees. Fall driving. Kids are in school, which means school buses are back out on the roads at various times. No matter if they're going to school or just getting out, the kids have their own agenda. They're not paying attention to you, so you have to pay attention to them. Price of gas is still below last year, so the road trips are increasing in number. Shorter days, farm equipment moving at dawn and dusk with just reflective triangles on the back of slow-moving vehicles. Road surfaces will be affected by dirt, leaves, and debris from the farm equipment during harvest operations. You can expect tractors, combines, farm straight trucks, and tractor trailer units moving at all hours, day and night. Your windshield has to be always kept clean, lights on, and cleaned, remove the grime. Dashboard needs to be uncluttered, and your mirrors need to be adjusted so you can see as much around you as possible. Construction is still active. They're going to be active for quite some time. Restricted lanes with reduced speed cause delays with traffic. Temporary repair zones can pop up anywhere. And the one consistent thing you have with ATAP construction zone and patient car drivers. Always increase your following distance and decrease your speed. Time and distance will be necessary to respond to the other drivers and whatever they do in front of you or beside you. Always signal your intentions and have your headlights on when the truck is moving. Recruiting incentive. We still have a recruiting incentive out there for owner-operators and company drivers. The fuel, the biggest fuel rebates come from the names up here on the screen. So please try to fuel within network. That ends the meeting. Thank you for your attention.